Funding for the Gone Fission Nuclear Report is provided by the Energy Communities Alliance.
Welcome to the Gone Fission Nuclear Report, your one-stop source for all the latest news from the Department of Energy's Environmental Management Program. Now, here's your host, Michael Butler.
Hello, and welcome to the Gone Fission Nuclear Report. Today is Monday, December 9th, 2024. We're covering all the news from the Department of Energy's Environmental Management Program across the country. We thank our friends at the Energy Communities Alliance for being presenting sponsor for today's episode. ECA, local concerns, national impact. If you haven't subscribed to the Gone Fission Nuclear Report, we invite you to do that now. It's been called the largest investment in the history of the state of Tennessee. I'm talking about Orano USA's plans to build a new centrifuge uranium enrichment plant in Oak Ridge. This multi-billion-dollar state-of-the-art facility will create more than 300 new permanent jobs and play a critical role in fueling a resurgence of nuclear power in the United States. Here's Tennessee Governor Bill Lee announcing the new project at a September event in Oak Ridge.
So today I'm very pleased to announce that a major player in the nuclear industry, Orano USA, has made a decision to build their multi-billion-dollar centrifuge uranium enrichment project right here in Oak Ridge.
Governor Lee went on to say the Orano project will further solidify Tennessee's position as a leader in safe, clean, and reliable energy in the future. With some irony, the Orano centrifuge project will be built mere miles from the site of K25, America's first uranium enrichment plant constructed during the Manhattan Project. Demolition of that historic facility and 4 other smaller plants was completed in 2020. K25 produced its last enriched uranium in 1985. A viewing platform is being constructed to allow visitors to see the footprint of the massive K25 plant, which was once the largest building in the world. Orano's plans to construct a new uranium enrichment plant comes at a time when the United States is seeking to reduce reliance on foreign sources for enriched uranium needed to fuel nuclear power plants. Russia, for example, currently supplies more than 1/3 of U.S. imports for nuclear fuel. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with Orano USA CEO Jean-Luc Palayer in Oak Ridge to talk about his company's new project. Here's that conversation. Well, we're in the studios of UCOR in Oak Ridge, Tennessee today, and our guest is Jean-Luc Palayer. Jean-Luc is president of Orano USA, and welcome to the podcast, Jean-Luc.
Thanks so much, Mike, for having me.
Well, we're very glad you're here. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's start by talking about you.
Okay.
You are the president of Orano USA, and you've been in that job for about a year now,
Yes.
since last November. Tell us a little bit about your career and your involvement in the nuclear industry over the years.
Okay. So I wanted to start with the fact that I was born in South Korea. So I come from a city called Masan. Do you know Masan, Mike?
I do not. I'm sorry.
So Masan is very famous in the nuclear industry because it's where South Korea builds all their forgings for their nuclear power plants. And now you wonder why I am speaking with a French accent, yes? So I was an orphan, in fact, in South Korea. I was adopted by a French family, and I grew up in a very rural area in France, in a city called Romans, So do you know Romans in
I do
France?
not, no.
So Romans is very close to Lyon. It's very famous in Europe because it's where you have the largest nuclear fuel fabrication facility in Europe.
Okay.
So I really believe I was destined to work for the nuclear industry. You know, I was born in Masan, as I told you. It was a big nuclear city in South Korea. I came to Romans, that is also another big city for nuclear importance in Europe. And now I'm in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So how I ended up in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, I will tell you that story. So first, during my engineering studies, in 1997, I had this great presentation from EDF, a French utility, regarding this wonderful program called Super Phoenix. It was a fast breeder reactor. Right. And I said, my gosh, I really want to work for the nuclear industry. Unfortunately, Super Phoenix was shut down as a program for political reasons, and I won't go into the details. But I decided to work for the nuclear industry, so I was very fortunate to be hired by Kojima, that is today Orano. And I started my career in South Korea, the country of my roots. So I went there for 3 years. I had very good time learning my job, learning the nuclear industry. And then I came back to France in 2002 to be in charge of business development for Kojima, that was called at that time Areva NC for nuclear cycle. Mm-hmm. So, and I spent 5 years in France, I would say developing the business for Orano in Asia, in particular Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and of course China. In 2007, I was given the chance to work on this new project in Idaho called the Eagle Rock Enrichment Project. Our plan at that time was to build a new enrichment facility in Idaho. So we worked very hard to get commitments from the customers. We got the license from the NRC. We got the loan guarantee from the DOE. And we were ready to launch the project. Unfortunately, on March 11, 2011, the Fukushima event happened, and we had no more business case. So in early 2012, my company decided to stop the project because we couldn't make it work. Mm-hmm. Honestly, for me, it was a very sad day, personally and professionally. It's what I like to say, it was like losing my first sweetheart in high school. I was really crushed. Yeah. Anyway, but life has taught me how to persevere, how to pursue my dreams, my vision, and it's what I did. And I'm glad that, so in 2012, I continued my career with Areva at that time. So I went to the solar division, worked very hard to build a solar plant in the middle of a desert in Rajasthan. It was an incredible experience. In 2012, after 2012, in 2015, I came back to the nuclear side of Areva to work what we call today TN Americas. So TN doesn't stand for Tennessee. It stands for Transportation of Nuclear Materials, so Transnuclear. So I work for the Dry Storage Division and Transportation Division of Orano in the United States. So we became Orano in between. But Kojima, Areva, Orano. And I was in charge of all the operations for TN Americas, so this division of transportation and packaging for Orano. And in until 2023, where I became the president and CEO of Orano USA.
Well, you have a very rich and impressive history
yes.
In the nuclear industry on an international scale. So it's good to hear that story. In the late summer of this year, you became a major newsmaker here in Tennessee when you announced Project Ike, which has been called the largest investment in Tennessee history. Tell us about your new uranium enrichment venture
yes.
that you're planning here in Oak Ridge, and give us a little insight into the project.
Okay, so I will give you 3 major, I would say, aspects of this project. So first, why Project Ike? Second, I will give you an update on the project. And third, I want to talk about what is very important for us now is the hiring process. So let's talk about why Project Ike. And you saw the news. Just last Friday, it's a breaking news. Russia decided to suspend their delivery of enriched uranium from the United States. It's the first time since the megaton to megawatt program started back in 1993. So there's more and more uncertainties regarding the supply of enriched uranium. This event was anticipated, I would say, by our customers, by the US government. And since the invasion of Ukraine by Russia in February of 2022, many of our customers, in particular in the US, asked us to see how we could increase enriched uranium capacity free from Russian influence. Mm-hmm. So our first decision, because it was the fastest way to provide enriched uranium to our customers, I would say in a timely manner, was to expand the capacity of our plant in France by 30%. And we have signed long-term commitments with many utilities, in particular in the United States. And the second project, of course, is Project Ike. We want to be able also to produce enriched uranium in the United States and to provide a diversified, competitive, and reliable source of enriched uranium. So that's why we started this project. Second, to give you an update, we are working very closely with UCOR and DOE, and I would like to thank our partners, DOE EM and UCOR, for what they are doing to make sure that the site that has been identified for our project will be transferred in a timely manner too. I was yesterday with Jean-Luc, who gave me an update on the transfer operations. So first, DOE EM, DOE, in fact, will transfer the site that has been identified for our project to Round County Industrial Development Board. And second, the Round Industrial Development Board will give us access to the site. So this one, but the first step is to make sure that DOE can transfer the site. They have done more than 30 times in the last, I think it's 30 years, in particular part of their program that is called Clean Up to Clean Energy Program. Yes. So this one, they have done it very successfully, and they know that this transfer will be done very smoothly. So this is the first step. The second step, of course, for us is to get a license from the NRC, and we have already started this process, and our first pre-application meeting will occur in Rockville on December 10th, so it's very soon, in less than a month. And so this is also the second important step. And third, what we need is to get some commitments from our customers, and we have already started the discussions with our customers. And I can tell you that, in particular because of the news that you just pointed out to me before this meeting, regarding the decision of Russia to suspend their delivery of enriched uranium to the United States, they are even more excited about, I would think, having these conversations with us regarding long-term contracts.
Well, I understand you have a planned start date for the plant for 2031. Is that correct? And,
it's not really 2031. I mean, because there are still some unknowns that we're working on. We know that for sure it will be the first half of the next decade, so hopefully 2031, but we need to be confirmed. Why? Because there are still some uncertainties regarding the licensing process. We met with NRC, and they told us that normally it takes 3 years for us to get a license, but hopefully we can improve the process, because what we are doing, we are taking the best approach that we had for Eagle Rock, of course, so we can reuse what we did, but also what I would say the industry has done here in the US, because for the last license for Eagle Rock was issued in 2011. And as you can imagine, in the last 14 years, a lot has evolved in the US in terms of regulations and in terms of industry development. So we will do the best to make sure that we have a very robust license application, and hopefully we can get the license before the 3-year term that was notified by NRC.
Well, this is a huge project, and it's, as we say, it's been called the biggest investment in Tennessee history. Can you talk a little bit about the economic impact of the project and the effects it'll have on the community and the state as a whole?
Oh yes, for sure. So in terms of construction, because it will be the first step, I mean, we're working with our EPC partner to identify the jobs that will be needed. But I can tell you that based on our experience, it will be more than 1,000 jobs that will be needed for the construction of this huge plant. Most of the equipment, piping, feeding will be purchased in the US because we need to meet the US standards. Concrete and rebar will be done, of course, locally, so there will be a significant, I would say, economic impact to the local communities, but not only in Tennessee, but in the but in the southern states and in the United States as a whole. The only components that we will import from Europe are the specialized centrifuge components, because the technology that we want to deploy in the US has been proven and efficient and in operations in Europe for more than 50 years. So we have a significant operating experience. These centrifuges, they work perfectly. When you start to spin them, they will run for 20 years at least. So we want to bring this incredible technology from Europe, but the assembly of these centrifuges will be done here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, of course, by American workers. So there will be a significant, I would say, economic impact in terms of during construction, but also during operations, because we'll need to hire our future operators. our future engineers, our staff, our technicians. And for this, we'll work very closely with the local universities, in particular UT, Tennessee Tech, but also the TCATs, Round State Community College, and many others. I mean, this region, this state has incredible education program that has been recognized, I would say, by the other states. I mean, during our site selection process, I can tell you that I met with different state officials, and I couldn't see something that was as big as what the state of Tennessee has done in terms of education program to ensure that the nuclear industry will have a right skilled workforce, not only to construct, but to operate all the nuclear, I would say, facilities that will be needed. So nuclear power plants, of course, but also for us, nuclear enrichment facilities.
Well, you're part of the nuclear renaissance, as they're calling it, and a lot of job opportunities are going to come out of that,
Yes.
including your facility and others that are being constructed in Tennessee. And it's good that students who are coming up through the programs now will have
Yes.
those kind of employment opportunities with you and with others.
Exactly. Now, for us, it's very important. And just to give you a short example, but yesterday I was very pleased to go to the High School of Oak Ridge to make a presentation on to what Orano does, but also what Thomas Jefferson brought back from France when he was the Minister of France from 1784 to 1789. Do you know what he brought back as food from France?
No, what was it?
So I gave 4 examples. So first one is creme brulee.
Okay.
The second one is ice creams. The third one is French fries. So Thomas Jefferson brought back the French fries from his trip in France. And the last one, so that is hard to believe, but is mac and cheese. Mac and cheese, in fact, is a French recipe. I can give you a recipe later, but it's not part of this podcast.
Right.
So anyway, I was very pleased to meet with the students of the Oak Ridge High School. And it's for different reasons, but one of the reasons, because I know that among the students, they are my future engineers, staff, technicians, and project managers. Mm-hmm. I know they are here. So we really want to promote, I would say, the nuclear industry and our company, of course, but what we want to do for the local community with the high school, the K-12, and of course the universities. And this weekend I will go to UT to meet with Randy Boy, the president of UT.
Mm-hmm. Good, good. You mentioned the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission licensing process that you have to go through. Now, I would assume that that's the standard process that all nuclear facilities go through in the country, with a construction permit and then later an operating license. And there would be public hearings in the area at some point. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, we went through this for Eagle Rock, and I was in charge of part of the licensing process, so I know very well how it works. Exactly what you said, except that we'll apply for a COLA, construction and operating license at the same time. Okay. But there will be a public hearing, of course, and we'll be pleased to listen to, I would say, to any questions, concerns that the public may have, and of course we'll address them. Very
good. So the people who live in the area will have a chance to both learn more about the project and to comment and ask questions that may be of concern to them.
Exactly.
Let's talk about uranium enrichment capacity in the U.S. And you mentioned the Russian announcement last week where there's going to be kind of a cap, I guess, put on the amount of uranium that can be exported. What's driving the need for new uranium enrichment capacity? And we've had several decades here with no new enrichment plants being built. What's happening now that's causing the need for your facility?
For me, what we have seen the change was really this event that happened in February of 2022, the invasion of Ukraine in Russia. At that time, many countries in the West and their utilities discovered that their sources of energy is nuclear energy, but it can be gas too. So anyway, their sources of energy were not as secure as they thought. And it's where we decided to expand our facility in France of enrichment, because it was a request coming from our customers. They wanted to get access to additional capacity of enriched uranium free from Russian influence. Mm-hmm. But also here in the US government took some clear actions. I mean, Congress appropriated $3.4 billion to DOE to jumpstart new enrichment capacities, whether it's for LE, LEU, or HALEU, high assay low enriched uranium, for the advanced reactors. DOE, of course, launched this program, and we are very fortunate because we have been selected by DOE, I would say, for the HALEU program, and we will work very hardly to meet their, I would say, their requirements. So anyway, there's clearly a need in the United States, but also in the Western world, but let's talk about the United States, to have access to enriched uranium free from Russian influence. And that's why it's driving, I would say, all these projects to increase the domestic capacity of enriched uranium, in particular here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, with our project.
You've picked Oak Ridge as your site, and there are obviously some obvious reasons for that. But tell us and our audience what led you to locate the facility in Oak Ridge.
So first was really I would say the executive order from Governor Lee in 2023 to promote nuclear energy. This one was very important because we have seen through the Nuclear Energy Advisory Council that includes experts from the industry, local and state officials. So we have seen through this council that there was a consistent approach to attract new investment in the nuclear from the nuclear industry.
The governor appointed a nuclear advisory council and also set aside about $50 million to attract the nuclear industry. So that was one factor in your consideration.
It was one of the factors of our consideration. It was not the $50 million of budget that he put aside. It was more the fact that at the state level, at the county level, and at the city level, all the officials had the same, I would say, approach how to attract new investment from the nuclear industry. Is what I was saying earlier. I mean, I went to different states for the site selection for Project Ike, and we didn't see that. I mean, sometimes the state will say, yes, you're welcome, but the local officials may say, oh, we're sorry, but we have other priorities. And in other states, it was the reverse. I mean, the local officials say, yeah, we want your plant here, but at the state level, they say, no, we're sorry, but we want to see investment more in these areas or that area. So here was very different. I mean, as I said, I mean, state, county, city, all the officials had the same approach. So this was very fantastic. The second was the incredible and enthusiastic, I would say, support that we got from the state delegation, including Senators Blackburn, Haggerty, Congressman Flashman, Congressman Rose. I can tell you that Congressman Flashman is one of the biggest advocates of nuclear energy in the country, and he wants to do everything that he can to restore the U.S. leadership in nuclear energy. But also, I mean, maybe you know this, but he's an incredible advocate for Tennessee. And he's so passionate about Tennessee. And every time, I mean, the few times I met with him, he talks a lot about Tennessee. And so really, when you feel this kind of support from the delegation, you say, yeah, it's a great place to be. Third, of course, this is the warm welcome that we got from the local community. I remember my first trip here was in April of this year. And we had a great time with Mayor Gooch, County Executive Caswell, Mayor Frank, and also Justin Snow, the President of the Industrial Development Board. And they showed me that video that was called Get Back Home. Have you seen that video?
I have not.
You should see that video. It's a video of the local community, Get Back Home. But to me, that video said, this is our home. And that's why, it was one of the reasons we decided to move here. Another reason is TVA.
Yes.
I told you earlier, when we start spinning our centrifuges, they will run non-stop for 20 years. And we need to get access to a stable power supply 24/7. And with TVA, we have the right partnership for this.
Well, and the presence of TVA was one of the reasons the Manhattan Project was located here to start with.
Exactly.
For the same reason, to have the adequate power supply that the K-25 needed.
Exactly. No, exactly.
So they're providing that same support again.
Yes.
What is your approach, your company's approach toward community involvement? How important is it from Orano's standpoint to be a good community citizen and involved in the community where you have facilities?
For us, it's one of our top priorities. I mean, community engagement is part of our commitments that we have made, I would say, to to our shareholders, to our stakeholders too. I can tell you that we are very big in this. I mean, as I said, first we'll soon open an office, and so hopefully we'll be in the second quarter of this year, and we have started to hire, I would say, some key positions for this office. But it's not only that. I mean, we have already started to have a lot of engagements with, I mentioned Mayors Gooch, Frank, County Executive Cresswell. Every time I come here, I try to meet with them or their team to make sure that we address any questions or concerns that they have from their constituents. And also, we try to engage as much as we can. I mean, I can give you a few examples, but we have also a facility in North Carolina, and this one we've been there for more than 10 years now. And maybe we forget about this, but you know, during COVID, when COVID started, I mean, it was impossible for the hospitals to get any masks. And we, Orano, were very fortunate to get some from our mother headquarters. I would say they shipped us a bunch of masks to give to our employees, but what we decided to do is to give also to the local hospitals. So it's one of the actions that we did. I mean, unfortunately, when the Hurricane Helene, I would say, that destroyed, of course, North Carolina, but also part of Eastern Tennessee, in particular, Erwin. For us, it was also a very big deal, and I was so glad to see the efforts made by AMSE, American Museum of Science and Energy, led by Jennifer Lee and Alan Love. I mean, what they have done, and we decided to participate and to give as much as donations as we could. I mean, it was just a small effort on our side, but for us, it was very important to be part of this, I would say, of this effort from the community to support Eastern Tennessee, but of course, North Carolina, and part of Georgia, which was very impacted by the hurricane.
I can sort of see the commitment and the way you're discussing this right now, because the names of these local community leaders and players are kind of rolling off your tongue. It's obvious you've been out there developing these relationships and getting to know the people who are in charge of things.
Oh yeah, for us it's very important. I mean, we want to make sure that, as I said, I mean, any questions, concerns from the constituents, we want to be able to address them.
Yeah. Your company, let's talk a little bit about Orano a little bit more. You gave us a little bit of history and the way it's evolved, but you're a French-based and a French state-owned company, right?
Yes.
Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about that and how the company is set up and a little bit of its history?
So we're a French state-owned company, but the French state is not our only shareholder. We have other shareholders, in particular from Japan. So we are 90% owned by the French state and 10% owned by the Japanese. For us, it was very important to have external shareholders too. And we are, I would say, we are governed as a private company. So that is very important. We, of course, we have our board of directors with different members representing the different shareholders. But I can tell you that what we do here in the US is really to bring the best in terms of technology, in terms of services from Orano Group. We have been present in the United States for the last 60 years. And we have, I would say, manufacturing plants also in the US. I mean, not only in North Carolina, but also in South Carolina. And soon we hope to have this huge facility here in Tennessee. So for us, it's very important also to be part of this of the development of a local economy. What we do mainly here in the US, I would say, is not only to supply uranium and conversion services or enrichment services from our plants and our mines across the world, but also to provide the transportation and packaging services. We have our manufacturing plants in dry storage in North Carolina. And what also we are doing in the US is to develop nuclear medicine. Just recently in June, we inaugurated our first alpha therapy drug plant in Indianapolis. And so we got the breakthrough designation by FDA just earlier in May of this year. So we just completed phase 2. We should go to phase 3, and soon we'll be able to, I would say, to deliver our new alpha therapy drug to patients, because I can tell you that this drug has been proven very efficient. That's why we got the breakthrough designation, and hopefully we can save lives in the near future.
We touched on the fact that Orano is French-owned, French state-owned. Can we talk about that a little bit more? Some of our viewers and listeners may have a question in their mind about how involved the French government is in your operations and in this project. What can you tell us about the involvement of the French government as far as this uranium
So
enrichment plant goes?
I can tell you that the French government is not involved. I mean, first, there's a Treaty of Paris that governs I would say, the deployment of the centrifuge technology here in the United States. And this Treaty of Paris, where I would say the French government, together with the US government, but also our European allies, the UK, Germany, and the Netherlands, they work together to make sure that this technology will be used only for the commercial enrichment of nuclear fuels in the United States. So this is where the French government is involved. But as far as we are concerned, I mean, we are a completely private company with our board of directors. So I report directly to the board of directors, and this board of directors will approve or not, in fact, the strategy and the actions that I propose for this project. And so it's how it works. I mean, of course, some of the board of directors may be appointed by the French government, but the French government itself is not involved in the day-to-day operations.
So the board operates independently
exactly.
from the government.
So, Mike, to be more specific, this project will be fully independent. It will have its own CEO, its own independent board, and will be managed very locally. In terms of organization, I am the president and CEO of Orano USA, but I'm also the president and CEO of a specific subsidiary that we created for Project Ike, that is called Orano Enrichment USA. So, Mike, did you notice what I said? It's a breaking news here. We just created a new subsidiary to manage Project Ike that is called Orano Enrichment USA.
Orano Enrichment USA.
Exactly.
I assume you have a pretty high confidence that you'll be able to obtain the license. You may have to overcome some hurdles and things, but you feel good about being able to get the license and move forward?
Yes, well, we feel very confident for two reasons. I mean, for three reasons, in fact. First is because we already did it for Eagle Rock. Of course, it's a different site, but this technology has been already evaluated by NRC, not only for our project in Idaho, but also for the Uranco project in New Mexico, because it's a similar centrifuge technology. Second is because DOE has already done some site characterization, so we will be able to use this as a leverage to accelerate the licensing process, because the environment impact is the most important activity in terms of licensing, and as I said, we can use the data already assessed and given to us by DOE. And third is because we have a tremendous community support here, and we are very confident that the mayors, the communities, and the counties will continue to support the development of Project Ike in Oak Ridge.
Your company has involvement outside of uranium enrichment. You have involvement in work at other DOE sites. So you're part of the environmental services group that's involved in cleanup at different sites. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, this is not a big activity, but it's a very important activity, and we're very pleased to work with DOE on this. I mean, particularly the EM site in Idaho, but also in Oak Ridge. For instance, we did the pool clean out of all the Oak Ridge pools here, and we have been very successful. I mean, also, we are very involved in the transportation and packaging activity with DOE, so we transport nuclear materials for them, nuclear waste in particular, but hopefully in the future some nuclear spent fuels. So yes, I mean, we have these very important activities with DOE.
Can the people of East Tennessee expect you to be a regular presence here over the next few years?
Oh, for sure.
Will they be seeing a lot of you?
I mean, now I don't remember how many times I came here because I don't count anymore. But I can tell you, maybe more than 20 times for the last 7 months. And soon I will buy a home here. So if you know some good real estate agents, please let me know, because I will need to buy one.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of them that will be looking for you. So we've had a good interview here, and you've told us a lot, and it's been very informative. As we close out, is there anything else, a message that you might have for the community or the larger DOE audience that watches and listens to us? Do you have anything else that you'd like to say to our people?
Yes, I mean, we've been in the US for the last 60 years, and I'm sure we'll be here for the next 60 years at least. What we want to deploy here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, is our latest and proven centrifuge technology. This technology is so efficient that it can run for 20 years at least, or even more, as soon as we start operations. The United States needs new domestic enrichment capacity. I was very glad to see the report from DOE, which was issued, I think, a week ago, that said that the US has the objective to triple its nuclear energy capacity by 2050. It means that we will go from 94 gigawatt today to 300 gigawatt by 2050. To do this, it will require, in terms of enrichment services, I would say a total need of 45 million SUs. So SUs stands for separative work unit, represent the energy that you need to separate, I would say, the uranium-235 from the uranium-238. So 45 million SUs by 2050 in terms of needs. Do you know what is the domestic capacity today of enrichment services?
I would guess it would be less than 5 million.
Yeah, bingo. It's 4.5 million SU exactly. So can you imagine? You have 4.5 million SU of domestic capacity today and 45 million SUs of needs by 2050. There's no time to lose. I mean, we need to build new enrichment capacity here in the United States very quickly. And it's not only one plant. I mean, we'll need various sources, various plants in different parts of the US to feed the needs of this 200 gigawatt of nuclear energy capacity by 2050. So we are very proud to be part of this project, and we are very pleased to see that DOE will continue their program to allocate funding to jumpstart these new enrichment capacities, whether it's for LEU or LEU plus or high-assay low-enriched uranium for the advanced reactors. Because these advanced reactors, to be successful, to make sure they will operate in the future, we need access to high-assay low-enriched uranium. And today there's no capacity, and only DOE, I would say, has the keys to make sure that this capacity of high-assay low-enriched uranium can exist tomorrow. So in any case, we are here to stay. I mean, we are very pleased to be in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And this for us is also very symbolic, because Oak Ridge is a place where the first enrichment plant was built. Indeed. When the world needed the most.
Yes, exactly. Well, Jean-Luc Palayer, president of Orano USA, thank you for being on the podcast today. We appreciate you being with us.
Thanks so much, Mike, for having me, and it was a pleasure to give you some thoughts about what we want to do, what we should be, I would say, in a few years from today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Funding for the Gone Fission Nuclear Report is provided by the Energy Communities Alliance.